So you guys saw the video, and I'm sure you got the gist of what we're trying to achieve. But I just want to get into a little bit more detail so you can understand the reason behind what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve, because it is a labor of love for us, and it's something that we're extremely passionate about. So I wanted to give you the story about Zara. So my wife and I mean, one of the main reasons why we met, we fell in love, and we got married is because we both have this genuine passion for adopting babies. And especially for me, being from Pakistan, growing up, I had heard many stories of baby girls especially abandoned at birth because it's a social thing, you know. They prefer boys. If they get with the girls, it's a burden on the family, so they abandon them. So for Danny and I, right from the beginning, we knew that even before we had our biological children, that we wanted to adopt from Pakistan, and we wanted to adopt a baby girl. So that's what we did. We started the process. We got certified as adoptive parents from the Hague Convention. We got registered in numerous hospitals or clinics in Pakistan. You have to understand another thing. When it comes to adoption, especially in Muslim countries and in a country like Pakistan, there's no such thing as adoption. Because in terms of religion, you're a guardian, you don't adopt. So they don't have an adoptive process in place that you would see in Western countries. So it's a bit ad hoc, that whole system. But anyway, we registered in that system, and we knew that we had to wait a certain amount of time, and then we'd hopefully get a call. And that's what happened. I'd say about 6 months to a year after we were officially registered, we got a call. We got a call from a hospital in Peshawar, and Peshawar is in the northern part of Pakistan. So we got a call, and they said there's a abandoned baby girl. She's just been born. So this is the opportunity that you were looking for. So we were actually in Dubai. So my sister and my mother drove to Peshawar, which is like 3.5 hours to this clinic, and they took Zara in, and then drove back to Islamabad. And about a couple hours later, we flew in from Dubai. So we saw Zara basically within I'd say six hours of her being born. Zara's story itself is fairly incredible. She came from literally the mountains, and from these small villages up in the mountains outside Peshawar. This area, most of you, just out of curiosity, this is an area that borders Afghanistan. So it's very tribal, it's very remote, and it's very backward in terms of obviously no education, nothing. But this Zara's biological mother, obviously with her father, came down from the mountain into the city and went into this clinic, and the doctor in this clinic basically convinced the mother and essentially the grandfather to say, when you deliver this baby, please come back to this clinic, because you never know, you know, she could just go back up in the mountain, go back into the village, deliver the baby, and you don't know what's going to happen to the baby. So she actually convinced the biological mother to come back when you're ready, and I'll deliver the baby, and I'll make sure the baby's taken care of. And that's how Zara, at that stage, was given another chance at life. So we obviously took Zara back to Dubai. We were overjoyed, we were ecstatic, we were first-time parents. It was a dream come true. She was an amazing baby, she was beautiful. We took her back, we got her in October, so we took her back in December to England. We had Christmas there, New Year's. Everything was fantastic. Our family was loving her, our friends were loving her. But when we came back to Dubai, we started to notice certain things. She wasn't as active as the other children. Her neck was starting to tilt to one side, and she had a bit of a lump on this side. And she was starting to throw up her milk all the time. Now, it was a bit confusing for us because we were first-time parents anyway. And the moment we brought Zara back from Pakistan to Dubai, we had gotten her a pediatric doctor, and we had told the pediatric doctor her story. And it's ironically, now that you look back on it, when he was doing her initial testing and everything, he actually said to us, now that we think about it, we remember it, he actually said to us, oh, don't worry, you know, everything's going to be fine, and I'll do a heel prick test on her. He said that the first time, and we'd never even thought of it until afterward. Obviously afterwards we found out that he actually didn't do the test. So even, and this was in Dubai, forget Pakistan, this was in Dubai, so she never had the heel prick test. Anyway, she was starting to deteriorate health-wise, and on one day in February, I was away on business, and my wife basically woke up to Zara choking on her vomit. So she rushed her to the hospital, and we started this whole process of trying to save her life. I mean, she went from hospital to hospital. I mean, she went to 3 hospitals, even in a place like Dubai, because no one had done the heel prick test. They couldn't actually figure out what was wrong with her. So eventually we ended up in a hospital in Al Ain, which is another city in the UAE, which is called Tawam Hospital, and they're affiliated with Johns Hopkins. And over there, after basically 2 weeks, they were able to pinpoint exactly what was wrong with Zara. And obviously she had this very rare disease. But by that time, obviously it was too late. And Zara passed away. And we were both obviously in shock. We didn't understand what was going on. We couldn't get our head around the fact that we set out to give life to a baby girl, and in just 3 to 4 short months it was taken away. It just didn't make sense. And we coped in different ways, but then we realized that you cope with your actions. But one of the first things that happened was the 1 month to the day that Zara passed away, we adopted another baby girl from Pakistan. Her name is Amara. She's 3 years old. She's the apple of our family. And then 1 year, 1 month to the day Zara passed away, Danny delivered twins. So now we have a magnificent family of 3 wonderful children, and we have an angel overlooking us. So this, when I was thinking about this, these words came to me, and so I made that as part of our philosophy in terms of why we're trying to set up the ZB Foundation. But we have on a personal level, we started to deal with the pain. But we knew what we had gone through and what Zara had gone through. There was much more to that. I mean, we could feel it, like there was a reason why she came into our lives. There was a reason why she selected us. There was a reason why we had to experience what she experienced. And it all kept coming back to, obviously, newborn screening. It all kept coming back to, what if she had that test? And basically from that thought, and from that idea is how the ZB Foundation was born. We started doing our research, we started looking into Pakistan, we did our research in Dubai, we did our research, and obviously we found out that, for example, in the UAE, it's done automatically. I mean, parents don't even know, it's just another test that's done on a child when it's born, and parents don't even know it, unless there's something wrong with the baby, then they tell the parents, but it's just done automatically. So that's on one side of the spectrum. And then on the other side of the spectrum, what we were finding out in Pakistan is non-existent. So that's how the ZB Foundation was born. I'd say about 2 years ago, we decided that we were going to set up a foundation in Pakistan, and we were going to try and pioneer the use of newborn screening in that country. So obviously, we realized that there were 3 key elements that we wanted to focus on. Now, the beauty of this presentation, obviously, for me and my wife right now, is that everything that we're telling you, hopefully we'll get criticism, and hopefully we'll get advice from you guys, because you know better, you know? So this is why this is so important to us, because I can talk about everything that we've done so far, but then we really hope that we hear from you guys in terms of, okay, this is what you really need to do, and this is what you really need to focus on, and that's what we're really looking forward to. But so far, what we're focusing on is obviously the education in terms of the medical community in Pakistan, because the level of ignorance we found in that was shocking, to be honest. And obviously, if the healthcare system is non-existent, then the community at large is not aware of newborn screening. So obviously, education has become an important part of what we're trying to achieve in Pakistan. Then research is equally important because, as I mentioned earlier, and as we're learning as we go along, each country, and within each country, each area has specific characteristics in terms of the babies that are born and the different things. And like, for example, in northern Pakistan, especially the area from where Zara came from, we found out later that, and it's true, because there's a lot of intermarriages. So intermarriages have their own set of problems that will arise in babies. So we're learning that stuff like that we need to incorporate into what the infrastructure that we're putting in place, that it's in tune with the areas that you're trying to target. And obviously, the last one is that over time, we want to put in place a comprehensive infrastructure in Pakistan, be able to do it over economies of scale, so it's cost effective, and elevate the level of medical care in Pakistan. But again, when Danny and I started off, we were very naive about this, and we were like, yes, we're going to go in, and it's going to be comprehensive, it's going to be all over Pakistan, and it's going to be free, and then obviously over time we realized, of the people in your community, obviously as well, have told us that's not how it's done. You have to start very small. You have to do one pilot program at a time. You have to focus on a certain area, and that's what we aim to do, and that's what we are hoping to achieve. There are specific challenges that we are facing in Pakistan. I'm sure it happens all over the world in specific countries, but these are the ones we are facing in Pakistan. Obviously, the first one is the education, the lack of awareness. I mean, we were so surprised once we started researching and talking and finding out from people that and the first 2 points are similar. And I'll give you a live example of this. A year ago, a cousin in my family had a baby boy. So and we're in a middle class family in Lahore. So they have their own family doctor, and it's a very nice clinic, a very nice hospital. So they delivered, the baby was delivered there. My father was there at that time. So my father says to my cousin, because everyone obviously knows our story, so my father says to my cousin, make sure the baby has the heel prick test. So my cousin says, yeah, of course, I'll tell the doctor. So a couple of days later, my dad asked my cousin, did you do the heel prick test? And my cousin turns around to my dad and says, no. So my dad's like, well, what do you mean no? So he's like, well, I asked my doctor to do the heel prick test, and my doctor said there's no need. He's fine. The baby's fine, I can see it, there's no need for a heel prick test. So in that environment, if you can just imagine a family doctor who's known our family, who knows our story, for him to actually turn around and say there's actually no need, I mean, that just shows the amount of effort we actually need to do in terms of breaking through to these people. And that's, I mean, obviously a lot of you know because you've gone through similar things. That's a challenge in itself. And but you have to start somewhere. But I mean, to the doctors themselves, you can kind of understand where they're coming from, because they themselves have no faith in the system. The government is non-existent. The good ones have their own private practices, and they try to do what they can. So for them, it's a cost element involved to it as well. So we can see where it's coming from in terms of the doctors. Then obviously you have the government. It's a broken healthcare system. There's too much red tape. There's a lot of corruption. I mean, Perkin, Elmer, and ourselves have been going through this on a monthly basis, because obviously Perkin Elmer is a partner with us, and we're trying to import stuff into Pakistan, and it's just been a nightmare, because it's just the level of red tape, explaining, medical equipment, all the different things that you need to do, the certification, it's a minefield, let's put it that way. But that's something you have to get through. Fundraising is again a challenge, which is, we're trying to do the best we can, but from a government point of view, that in itself is challenging. And if some of you are familiar with Pakistan in particular, we obviously have a lot to do. We're always in the news for the wrong reasons. Terrorism is obviously a big factor, and the government is always trying to show that it's doing something about it. But that affects fundraising. We recently, I think if you read the news, recently we had a very recent case a couple of weeks ago. Save Our Children is now being shut down in Pakistan because the government assumes that it's a conduit for funds for the wrong reasons. So that's the kind of challenge we have to face from a government perspective. And then obviously the last one is the scaling capability. Yes, we're going to start with a small pilot project in Islamabad. Hopefully that will bring traction. Hopefully that will bring a track record that gives us the scalability. But because we don't have any government support, per se, at this stage at least, the only way we see us moving forward in terms of scalability is obviously if we get help from the existing infrastructures that are around us. And hopefully that's something we're hoping to have that discussion eventually. So this is what we've done so far, regardless of the challenges and everything that we face in Pakistan. Obviously this is extremely important to us, so whatever has happened, we still have managed to do something. And this is what we've done so far. One of the main things that we've done is we've managed to identify and start late-stage discussions with a hospital in Islamabad. It's one of the better hospitals in Islamabad because, again, specific to Pakistan, and I'm sure a lot of third world countries go through the same thing, the military is actually the most sophisticated institution in the country. The military is actually doing more for its own people than it's actually doing for the greater country. So this hospital is run by the military, and it's actually a very well-run operation. So we managed to, we have a clinical coordinator in Islamabad, and he's in late-stage discussions with PIMS so that they will be the main beneficiary of this pilot program that we're setting up in Islamabad. We also have done a technical collaboration with King Faisal in Saudi Arabia. This is predominantly, obviously, because there's a lack of knowledge and a lack of experience in Pakistan. So this we've done, or we've been advised to do as almost like a backup plan, in terms of whenever tests start coming in and the newborn screening is happening in this pilot program, King's Faisal Hospital can act as a backup, and especially for confirmation of positive tests. And then in terms of the logistics of the actual program in Islamabad, we've signed an agreement with a lab in Islamabad, in Pakistan. It's actually a very reputable lab. Some of you may be aware of it because they meet people from Perkin Elmer and meet people from your community, especially in Dubai. So they are partners in this. We've actually sent 3 of their employees to Turkey. They came in November, I think, so they're trained on the machine that's arriving in Islamabad. So that's something that we're working on. So we're slowly but surely we're reaching our initial goals. Obviously, a key element of our success so far has been this fantastic partnership and relationship that we have with Perkin Elmer. Perkin Elmer has been absolutely like wings of an angel. They've been fantastic to us. They've introduced us to people like you. They're giving us this opportunity. They've been so generous in terms of donating a machine to the pilot project, and that in itself has shaken things up in Pakistan. The fact that we, as a small organization, as a small charity, were able to get this machine, because there are people who know that this machine makes a difference. So the amount of positive feedback we've gotten from the small community in Pakistan that actually knows about this because of the machine. So we've had calls coming in from small private hospitals or people who are geneticists and biologists in Karachi, especially, who know about this machine because they realize, okay, this is what we've been waiting for, this is what we've been looking for. So just this partnership with Perkin Elmer has opened a lot of doors for us, and we're hoping, and we know that going forward, with Perkin Elmer, we're going to expand this throughout Pakistan. Just to give you an idea, the scale of what we're talking about, just a single clinic or medium-sized hospital in Islamabad, like the one we're hopefully going to do the pilot project with, can have up to 30 births per day. So that's a level of scalability that's possible in just Islamabad, and then you've got the whole of Pakistan that you can go into. Another important partnership that we've recently established is with a company called Nutricia. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this company. Nutricia has also been very keen to work with us. And similar to Perkin Elmer, I think they realized that when you go into a place like Pakistan where there's nothing, no NBS infrastructure, you have to start somewhere. So sometimes it's the private sector, or it's stories like us, it's foundations like us, that actually drive that initial push that you need in order to get people to realize, understand, and start thinking about it. So Nutricia recognizes that as well, and so we have a letter of intent with Nutricia now. They will assist in the training of the doctors, potentially going over time in the future. We can tap into their infrastructure that's already in place in Turkey. We are both now starting to organize workshops in all the major cities in Pakistan, where it's the awareness campaign, the education campaign, making sure the doctors, the parents are starting to realize what newborn screening is about, and through Nutricia, we're starting to get experts coming in, obviously through Perkin Elmer. We hope to do more of that. So, and then Nutricia, a key element that obviously we are weak on is obviously their interaction with the government. Obviously they come in as a multinational company, so they have access to the government that I may not have. So on that aspect, they are going to help us a lot because they'll introduce us to the government, and at some level we can have discussions that, getting the public sector involved, and we can do as much as we can on the private sector. So that last point is a key element, and this has happened recently. So we're having quarterly meetings with them, and we're building momentum in terms of seeing what we can do with Nutricia. Also, another key element that we've done recently through our clinical coordinator in Islamabad is we set up, this just happened last month, so we set up this forum in Islamabad, and we got 15 to 20 of our local doctors, pediatricians and gynaes to come and join this forum, and and these are the ones that have actually responded to our initial awareness campaign. These are the people who actually recognize within that community that this is a much needed requirement, and so they buy into what we're trying to do. So we managed to gather them all together into this forum, and this forum is starting to now will start meeting on a quarterly basis, and hopefully this will become another driver for what we're trying to achieve in Pakistan, because already we're starting to get cases. We get calls nearly every month. Just shows you what the scale of work ahead. We get nearly a call every month from different parts of Pakistan who actually heard about what ZB Foundation is trying to do, and they tell us, okay, we have a child, who has this, or we have a child who has this. Parents came in and we have this, and so what can we do? How can you help? So it's sometimes, and I was mentioning to some of you last night, that's one of the initial things that we learned very early on, because in our idealism, when we were trying to set this out, we were like, yes, we're going to help everyone, and we're going to just do screening for everyone. And then a lot of people came back to us and said, well, you shouldn't do anything before you realize that there's treatment available, and we weren't open to that very important moral question. that was told to us right from the beginning, and we realize that, and we understand that. So that's why we've had to push away these, we can't do these random things because then it defeats the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. The infrastructure needs to be put in place, and then only will it be properly effective in terms of what they're trying to do. So hopefully this forum it will discuss real life cases. Through the forum, obviously, potentially we could be a conduit to a group like you, where this community, so we can start educating the people and sharing ideas as this symposium is about. So these are the different areas. Obviously, we're going to let this forum focus on oversee the pilot program. With the help of Nutritia, the key aspect is provide supportive care wherever we can to patients that are positive, and obviously provide counseling to high-risk families. So this is, again, a very important recent development that ZB Foundation has been able to establish, and we're very proud of that as well. So this is just a quick snapshot of everything that we've done so far. Obviously, the first thing is we are now setting up the pilot project in Islamabad. The machine from Perkin Elmer is going to arrive in July in Islamabad, and as some of you from Perkin Elmer know, this is a very, very happy occasion for us because we've gone through a lot of pain in terms of getting this machine into Pakistan, because it was just a process. We had to get the charity certified, we had to get the machine certified, we had to get Perkin Elmer involved. It's been a process, but they say once you've dug a road or planted a road, then it starts moving, and that's what we've done. So we're extremely excited about this development, and we were really excited the fact that we came here and we could tell Perkin Elmer that this has happened now and this machine is going to come in. So from in the next couple of months, we should be ready to actually start first comprehensive newborn screening in Islamabad. So similar to, parallel to the pilot project, obviously the education and literacy campaign will be ongoing. We're going to make it a monthly or bi-monthly occurrence where we're going to do these forums in different cities across Pakistan, start a campaign with Nutritia, start getting people aware, target specific sectors of the community just to get the word out. And then obviously on our personal level, we continue to fundraise across Pakistan, UAE, where we're based in Dubai, and obviously the UK. As obviously most of you know, fundraising itself is challenging because it's like a chicken and egg thing. You can only go and ask someone for donations or money if you've shown them what you've done. So a lot of people are waiting for us to actually implement the pilot project, see what you can achieve, and then obviously from there you start to get funding. But so far in the last 2 years, my wife has been instrumental in that. We've been fairly successful in managing to have enough of a nest egg to do these initial goals, achieve these initial goals, and be able to, at least from what we're trying to achieve, be able to, at least as we project for the next 1 to 2 years, have that funding available to meet our targets in terms of the two main areas that we're focusing on. One thing that we realized very quickly and early on, especially for a place like Pakistan, whichever foundation and however we set up the charity, corporate governance and transparency is extremely, extremely critical to the health of the foundation. And we did that right off the beginning. We have an advisory board. Most of you are aware of Dr. Tony Torresani. He's guided us pretty much from day one in terms of how she would do it and what she would do, and pilot program and the 2 tests that we should do in the pilot program. So all of this has been guided by Dr. Tony. Dr. Raza is our, I like one of your guests last night said it, and I like that word. He's our local advocate for what we're trying to achieve. He's a pediatrician. He truly believes in what we're trying to do. Dr. Ali Raza, So he's one of our drivers within Islamabad. So through, and obviously the technical part, because Danny and I, we're not anywhere near the level of expertise or technique that you guys are. We're in completely different professions. I'm into investments and Danny's a PR, so they're completely different fields. But so obviously we need people with the technical know-how. But at the same time, we've tried to keep this a family affair, because we know that only the passion of a family or only the passion of a parent will allow us to surmount the obstacles that we're going through. So my father is the chairman of the foundation. Then obviously we set up a board of trustees in the UK, so to facilitate our fundraising in the UK, and we have a few good people on the board over there. And again, we have family members, so we have a vested interest in making sure we succeed in what we're trying to achieve. And obviously we've gone the extra mile right from the beginning, from day one. We appointed E&Y, so, and again, this is extremely important for a place like Pakistan in terms of fundraising, to make sure that everything is audited, so people going forward, especially large institutions, global institutions, they need to have some comfort level in terms of how the money is being spent, where the money is coming from. So stuff like that is extremely important to us. So we have a very strong framework in place. We're hoping we have a strong framework in place. Again, we look forward to hearing from you guys in terms of the small little loopholes that you may have found in terms of what we've done so far. My wife is extremely active in the media in terms of keeping the message out there, and so she does that on a daily basis on social media. We're always active. Keep that, and the fantastic thing is, even the response we get, it just shows that there's a voice. The people out there who are hearing our voice. So through the media, we keep a constant presence in the media. Mostly it's been in the UAE, but now we're starting to do it in Pakistan, because obviously we wanted to wait until we had some elements of the infrastructure in place before we started talking about it in Pakistan. But now, in the second half of this year, we're going to start doing more of this in Pakistan and doing specific interviews and media awareness in Pakistan, because I think that will go a long way towards achieving that education part of our goal. So, to wrap up, our journey is just beginning. As you heard, the journey started from a period of immense pain and loss for us. But from that immense pain and loss, we've managed to create something beautiful. And through that beauty, we are hoping to achieve a lot of good things in Pakistan. But at the same time, and especially in the last 2.5 years, we are very, very aware that the amount of work ahead of us is not going to be easy. It's going to be extremely challenging. But with the right partners, with the right community, with the right people, I think we will make this happen, because for us, we don't know anything better. This is one of our life passions, and as I say on the last line, on the wings of an angel, we will save babies in Pakistan, one heel at a time. Thank you very much. Thank you.